What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day, and I hope you're having a good week as always. I'm here with a few stories, and we're going to do pop-ups again since everybody seemed to like that a lot. First story of the day is a bunch of people are teaming up to fight online extremism, self-proclaimed fight it. I'm not sure that they're going to do that, but that's what they say. It's the Koch brothers, George Soros, Patreon, Airbnb, and other companies. You got to hear about this story. It's pretty wild, and we're going to lead that into a few things. We're going to talk about Google, Amazon, Facebook, and how last year they lobbied the United States government more than they ever have. We're also going to talk about how Twitter is removing James O'Keefe and Project Veritas undercover journalism about Pinterest from Twitter. A lot of censorship going on. And then we're going to move on to Twitter, Pinterest, and how they removed Live Action, which is a, anti-abortion, pro-life Pinterest account. So they got removed. James O'Keefe is getting pressured from Twitter. YouTube is getting pressured from everybody. YouTube is pressuring independent content creators. CNN is writing more articles building off that New York Times article I talked about where they were calling everyone YouTube radicals. We're going to talk about all that stuff. That's the first story. It all ties together. A lot of censorship, and they're pushing further, and further. That's why I have this tweet. You could read it, where I tell people if you have a big hard drive, I would save your favorite YouTube videos and historical content, stuff that's like a treasure chest. You know, whether you disagree or agree with it, like it or don't like it, historical videos are going to be targeted because now the truth is hate speech, history is hate speech, and historical evidence of stuff, whether you agree or disagree, is being taken down rapidly, and it looks like they will stop at nothing to delete almost everyone. It's becoming very authoritarian, so I would save them, and that's a way you could counter it, among other ways. Thank you guys for supporting me here, signing up to my free email list and such. Second story I'm going to talk about today is how a national park, the National Park Service at Glacier National Park, is reportedly to have taken down a sign that said that the glaciers would be gone by 2020 because it looks like those predictions are not correct. We're going to talk about that story. We're going to read some official data and sourcing from NASA and the Global Climate Change website, their official website, so people understand what's really going on outside the headlines and speculation. So those are all the stories of the day. Let's just go right into the first story. First one is about an article from The Observer. I'm going to post it right here. The title of it was Koch brothers team up with George Soros, Patreon, and Airbnb to fight online extremism. First of all, this is interesting because for a long time people said, anytime you said George Soros was funding the left wing and operations all over the world, people would say, well, the right wing has the Koch brothers and they're funding the right wing. Well, now looks like the Koch brothers are teaming up with George Soros and they both don't like Trump. So hopefully that's a sign to the anti-establishment progressives and liberals who don't understand what's going on yet. This should be a big wake-up call. And they're teaming up with Patreon, Airbnb, and others. Let's get into the article. Koch brothers are teaming up with tech companies, universities, and fellow billionaires to combat online extremism. On July 17th, after Charlottesville project. So, of course, they're using Charlottesville as an excuse to continue ramping up censorship and saying that they're fighting extremism. So they always like to take an event and say, look what happened here, and use it to justify so much more stuff that's not good. Politicians on both sides and people do that all the time, but people have to understand, just because something bad happened and something horrible happened, it doesn't mean that you throw all your rights and give these people more legroom to, take away the First and Second Amendment. It's what they try to do. It's historically what dictators would have done. So it's just obvious. Anywhere in the world, Europe, we could talk about it. Marine Le Pen is on trial for posting ISIS videos. So now apparently just posting the truth and the dangers of a terrorist group can put you in court. That's somehow illegal in Europe. It's literally insane. So in the United States, we have freedom as of now, and these people desperately want to take it away from us. Don't believe that it's about gay rights and women's rights and they're marching for this stuff. Notice that it all leads back to the same source, which is anti-First Amendment, anti-Second Amendment. There are some people who want the total crushing of United States freedom, and don't doubt that for a second. Let's continue on. Who's involved in this besides who I just mentioned? So representatives from the Charles Koch Institute and the Anti-Defamation League will join executives from tech companies, which currently include Eventbrite, Mozilla, Pinterest, Patreon, and Airbnb, along with universities, they said, George Soros, the Koch brothers, the Anti-Defamation League. This is just one big happy family of let's destroy free speech and act like we're going to fight online extremism. When I would say, personally, someone who dislikes extremism on both sides, it's the lack of conversation, it's the constant accusal and hatred of people based on their gender or race. When you claim to be fighting racism and, pro woman stuff, it's this type of stuff that breeds extremism. When you just hate people for being that gender, hate people for being that race, block out any sort of discussion, continuously censor people and demonize people, which is what these people do through their publications, through their friends and such. They cause extremism, they take away freedoms, and then they act like they're somehow helping it. And a lot of people on the left wing and the right wing are catching on. So this is just one big party of censorship, one big party of billionaires who want to control everybody, probably going to disguise themselves through activists and organizations like Patreon and Airbnb and say, oh no, we're going to fight the 1% and we're going to fight the billionaires and we're going to fight the bad, white supremacists, even though we're the 1% and we're the people who are, worldwide just causing so much havoc by just being control freaks and trying to take over everything and not allow free discussion. And that is definitely the goal, whether I don't know if these people know it or not, but it could not be more obvious. I'm going to move on to some other stuff because what more can you really say about all those companies teaming up to fight online extremism, even though the people that they support the most are the leading causes of extremism and the leading causes of division and the leading causes of misinformation and the leading cause of fake news, but they want to control everything. So it's literally opposite world. Fake news to them is real news is fake news, non-journalism is journalism is an opinion, and opinion is journalism. It's literally, you'll drive yourself insane trying to keep up with the madness that these people are spreading. So we're just going to move on. When it comes to the tech companies, I read this recently and I was pretty blown away, but not surprised. Google, Amazon, and Facebook spent records amount of lobbying to the U.S. government. This was 2019. They spent, or 2018, the article's from 2019, they spent $48 million. It's up from 13% for 2017. You have Google spending $21.2 million, Amazon $14.2 million, Facebook $12.6 million, Microsoft $9.5 million, and Apple lobbying $6.6 million. So my question here is, what are they lobbying? What's going on? How tight-knit are these tech companies to each other? Because when they ban one person, they all act accordingly. It's like one big snaky government where they're like, you're banned from everything. You can't talk anywhere. They're all working together. They're all lobbying the government. And the question is, where is this money going and what's their agenda? Why are they giving all this money to our federal government? Then we're going to move on to more censorship. It's hard to keep up these last couple of days, and it seems like a downward slope. That's why I'm saying save these videos, support people that you love, and just make sure you're there for people who get deplatformed or falsely demonetized. My video yesterday on Facebook, it's got about 500,000 views now of the homelessness. Of course, there's no graphic imagery. It's just tense. It's what we have to see every day if you live in major cities in the United States. I didn't do any up and close of anybody. I mean, there's nothing graphic there. They demonetized it, and just to be honest, a video like that gets 500,000 views and is very engaged, that's when it's all said and done, depending how many millions of views that gets, they're taking $1,000 to $3,000 from me in revenue just on demonetizing that, which is fine. I don't need it. I understand some videos get demonetized, some don't, but just to let you know how they operate, they demonetize videos from me, tens of thousands of dollars a year they take from me. They bend over backwards for their corporate buddies or the late night hosts who not only are on $10, $100 million budgets with the networks, but they constantly just get advertising deals that I'm not allowed to get. They blacklist and demonize me in the media to make me look like I'm unadvertisable when I'm not. They filter all the algorithms to post their videos all over the place. So when you go to the searches, all you see is their videos, even though they're not that interesting. They do everything to take my money, and they do everything to give them money, even though they're working for billion-dollar corporations who give them $100 million budgets and sign these crazy huge TV contracts. Everything's going for them, everything's going against me, and I still outperform them even amongst all that. So thank you to everybody who's supporting and watching my videos. Even though they're cutting me at every turn, I'm still doing pretty well, which is amazing. So I thank you for that. I'm very grateful for the money I am allowed to make on Facebook because I'm doing quite well on advertising revenue. Thank you, Facebook. Please don't go full cycle like YouTube and these other people, because you will not stop extremism. You'll only cause more extremism, and if you can't understand, comprehend, or respect What I'm saying is very, very simple and very, I would say, better reporting in many ways than most mainstream media on the left and the right, then it's going to be a slippery slope for you and your company. And I don't wish that on you. So please, for the sake of your own self-preservation as a company and as someone who is very powerful in the United States and the world, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Don't ruin it for yourselves, because you guys are sprinting down a slippery slope that is going to backfire tremendously. I don't know what these companies are thinking. So we're going to move on to Pinterest. They got a lot of stuff going on. First, there were reports, I don't know if this came before or after, but Pinterest was taken down. Live Action was taken off of Pinterest. Live Action is one of the most prominent pro-life accounts, and Pinterest emailed them and said, your account was permanently suspended because its contents went against our policies on misinformation. We don't allow harmful misinformation on Pinterest. That includes medical misinformation and conspiracies that turn individuals and facilities into targets for harassment and violence. So now Planned Parenthood is a protected class in this country. I don't, if you're pro-life or pro-choice, I don't mind. I've had discussions, conversations, and debates with a lot of people, including people I love, and that's fine. But to now say that pro-lifers, and I can't say that I know every single post that they've made on that account, but I do know, based on how the media and a lot of liberal companies are acting, the truth is a conspiracy theory to them. An alternate perspective is a conspiracy theory. Things that have been literally proven scientifically and historically are considered dangerous in conspiracy theories, and conspiracy theories that are made up by the mainstream media that have not an ounce of credibility, even after 2 years of investigation, research, and thousands of articles, they consider top-notch truth, and if you disagree with it. So they're literally living an upside-down world, so much so now that someone that disagrees with their agenda of abortion, which is questionable at best, is now not even allowed to be on their platform. Interesting timing. James O'Keefe of Project Veritas did a report including a Pinterest whistleblower, and that Pinterest whistleblower has been fired for uncovering a lot of the bias and insanity internally at Pinterest. Project Veritas tweeted, Ben Shapiro content gets flagged. Pinterest employees debate the content in Slack. Pinterest employees call Shapiro a white supremacist. Pinterest censors content about Shapiro and adds to the sensitive terms list, life censored. So they did an investigation and found out that Pinterest was labeling Ben Shapiro a white supremacist, which is pretty insane for multiple reasons. First of all, Ben Shapiro is Jewish. He self-identifies as Jewish very strongly. He wears the hat on his head. And if you said, oh, you're white, I don't know how Ben Shapiro would act, but I'm guessing he's a very proud Jew. So to call him a white supremacist when he probably doesn't even self-identify as the race white is insane in itself. And to title him a white, I mean, it's just ridiculous. But this is no surprise. Carlos Maza, who is causing all sorts of chaos and censorship, probably purposely, knowing that he worked for Media Matters. So I don't think this is a mistake by any means. This is what these people want. They want to shut down the opposition. He calls Tucker Carlson a white supremacist. So, you know, this is their new strategy. Call everybody white supremacists, even if they're not white. They're white supremacists, because that's a brand we've made. And anybody who disagrees with us, anyone who's conservative or strong or believes that there's, you know, two genders, or believes in gender roles or tradition or conservatism, everyone's a white supremacist. So this was happening at Pinterest, and by doing that investigation, Project Veritas is receiving heat from Twitter, who says that they're posting private information. So my question to Twitter is, when the WikiLeaks came out, did you do this? No. When people leaked stuff on Trump and leaked classified and private information on Trump, did you do this? No, of course not. They're just doing it to James O'Keefe. So once again, I would be okay with that if there was consistency at Twitter saying these are our rules, this is what we do, but they don't have rules. Their rules are, we're a bunch of liberals, we don't care about death threats, we're going to allow all sorts of profanity and insanity, and as soon as it goes against our agenda, we're going to enforce a rule that either we do have and didn't enforce to other people, or that we don't have that we're going to create on the spot or alter our terms and conditions. I mean, they're literally going insane. And on that note, we're going to talk about CNN Business, who said, it's YouTube's time in the hot seat. And I want to give you a look at how mainstream media works. This happens on the right too, but it just so happens that the left wing now includes the right wing. It includes your McCains, your Romneys, your Your Koch brothers are even in on this censorship. They all want this so bad because when you don't have the First Amendment, that's when they have total control. Without the First and Second Amendment, you're basically a slave again. CNN said it's YouTube's time in the hot seat. They're now piggybacking off that really crazy New York Times article where they said YouTube radicals include Dave Rubin, Jordan Peterson, Philip DeFranco. I mean, YouTube is radicalizing somebody. And in the article, I actually read it, they were saying that this person started getting down the right-wing rabbit hole and then ended up on the left wing. So it's like YouTube is radicalizing the far right into becoming left-wing people thanks to Dave Rubin. It's like these people are literally so weird. But CNN uses that New York Times article, and in this article it says Susan Wojcicki, who's the CEO of YouTube, apologizes. So they're so sorry. They're going to keep cracking down on right-wingers and left-wingers and history and everybody who has a voice outside of their complete, corporate fascist control. We're so sorry that we allowed free speech. And this is how they operated and how fake news spread so quickly and how rumors and conspiracies spread is because I caught them doing this dozens of times from 2016 to 2018. So the New York Times or the Washington Post will publish something with an anonymous source, or they'll do an opinion piece that they don't label opinion, and they'll say, someone said this. So it's basically just an opinion or a crappy take or an insider scoop that's probably not even true. So when the New York Times or Washington Post does it, people think that they're credible, even though they're basically activist organizations. They don't do unbiased journalism or try to get to the truth. They'll publish any opinion, any conspiracy theory, any friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of an inside source who says something. They'll post it. Then CNN will piggyback on that. MSNBC will piggyback on it. Next thing you know, it's in Vox, it's in BuzzFeed, it's everywhere. So people think, and this is essentially propaganda, and to the people say, well, it happens on the right wing too. Absolutely, it does. It just so happens now that the tech companies, most mainstream media, most of the television, most of the late night hosts, they're all trying to achieve their agenda of total control through the left wing right now. It's just obvious. The Koch brothers, the right wing, Trump's taking them in a different direction. Okay, we'll just go to the left wing. We'll team up with George Soros, no problem. It's so obvious. This is what they do. So this is how fake news truly spreads. And we used to have YouTube and Facebook to be able to counter it. But now they're saying if you counter the fake news, you're fake news, and we won't allow you to exist. It's truly nutty. So that's what's going on, guys. I could talk about it all day, but you have all the big players, the billionaires, the elites, the tech companies, now the social media companies. You have Airbnb, Eventbrite, event organizations, housing organizations. You have all social media, Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube, trying to pressure, even now Facebook. They're like, Facebook, why don't you follow suit? So who knows how long this party's going to last on Facebook with all these psycho liars trying to censor everybody. They're going fully insane now. And I have solace in the fact that I'm going to read a tweet that I tweeted yesterday real quick, because this is truly how I feel, and I encapsulated it very, very well. And it's why I'm not freaking out, because they can do what they do, I'll do what I do, and we'll see how it happens in the end. Let me find my tweet. I said, the truth is officially banned. The truth is hate speech on social media. The truth is taboo and unspoken on mass media. The truth will put your job and your financial stability in jeopardy. Bring it on. God rewards the truth, and the truth lasts forever. Your soul is wicked in lies. So you can take my money. You could take anything from me. You could take all the ad revenue I should have gotten. You can give it to all these major networks. You can shut me down. You could shut down history. You could do all this stuff. But I am still peaceful, and I understand that, I go to sleep pretty well most nights. I mean, some nights I worry about some stuff, but overall, I'm very happy. I'm very content. My soul feels pure and full of light. And I know that your soul is wicked with lies. And God, the universe, and karma will not be kind to the wicked. So you can lie as much as you want. You can get as many people and as much funding for your lies. But when it's all said and done, it's not going to end up good for you. And I pray for your wicked, disgusting souls. I feel worse for you than you should feel for me. So overall, not worried about it. We'll figure out a way. These companies will fall just like Rome did if they keep pushing in the wrong direction. Second story I want to talk about today was very interesting. A lot of people, of course, only right-wing media covered this, which is unfortunate because, a lot of left-wing media is interested in the climate and certain stories, and I get that this story is not a big left-wing story, but I'm going to read it anyway. National parks quietly toss signs saying Glacier will be gone in 2020. They're growing. This is a sign. I'm going to read a little bit from it. It says, they are now rapidly shrinking due to human-caused climate change. Computer models indicate the glaciers will all be gone by the year 2020. So this is the National Park Service at Glacier National Park. Apparently under the Obama administration, they put up signs that told the visitors that the glacier would all be gone in 2020 due to global warming. And apparently they have quietly removed those signs because it looks like the 2020 predictions are not very good. AP global warming. I'm trying to find the old one. This is not a new phenomenon. This is why I said it. I looked it up. This is from 1989. This is UN predicts disaster if global warming not checked by Peter James Spielman. A senior UN environmental official says entire nations could be wiped off the face of the earth by rising sea levels if global warming trend is not reversed by the year 2000. It's 2019 now, 19 years after that. It never happened. It's not probably going to happen at that rate. There's some people who think that we're actually headed towards an ice age, which would be quite the opposite of global warming, which might explain why they changed from global warming to climate change, because they officially couldn't prove that it's warming, because in many places it's actually not. And if people think I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm going to go right to NASA's website. This is the trusted government news source on climate change who's pushing a lot of this climate change phenomena. This is the article that I love, I reference quite often. Antarctica's contribution to sea level rise was mitigated by snowfall. Look at this map they have right here from 1900 to 2000, and they'll show you, look, it's melting in some places, melting in some places, melting in some places, melting in some places, and then you could see it's the blue part, it's actually growing and getting colder in those regions. So if you look at this map, it doesn't look like it's melting everywhere. It looks like some places close to the shore it's melting, which would make sense. And we found out that there's volcanoes under certain ice glaciers that came out last year. But also, it's growing in some places, which is amazing. So that doesn't look like a really catastrophic thing. How come the middle's all white? How come it's not blue or red? I'll tell you why. It's in this article, and a lot of climate experts or climate science activists don't want to acknowledge this. They always say, well, the climate scientists are saying this. Here's what the climate scientists are also saying. The reason that it's all white in the middle is snowfall is very difficult to measure over Antarctica. For starters, there are very few weather stations in the frozen continent, and most of them are installed along the coastline. They're only measuring the coastline, folks. Secondly, satellites have a hard time measuring snow from space. They basically confuse the snow that's falling down with the snow that's already on the ground. Climate models struggle to replicate the total amount of snow that falls over Antarctica each year. So scientists often have to rely on the ice cores, cylinders of ice drilled from the ice sheet whose layers store a trove of information, amongst it how much snow fell in a certain year or decade. But drilling ice cores is logistically challenging, so they are sparse and do not cover the entire continent. So not only in that 100 years has it not been a catastrophic melting at all, look at the chart, but they're also admitting to most of the continent is not being measured because they can't actually measure it. So you have to understand when they say that climate is real and it's 97% of the scientists, first of all, science is not a consensus. If 10,000 scientists say you can't build an airplane, and then Orville Wright builds an airplane, it doesn't matter what they say. It's not a group vote. It's the truth or it's not the truth. And a lot of things we don't understand. The sun is very hard for us to understand. We claim to understand a lot of it, but it heats up the entire planet. Volcanoes and their activity is interesting to understand. There's a lot of other factors on the planet. I'm not saying we should be throwing all this plastic in the ocean and polluting so much. We shouldn't. But they've been very alarming with this climate change. And I keep saying we should focus on cleaning up the plastic from the ocean because that's a very obvious thing that's disgusting. I hope the right and left wing can agree on. But most activists are screaming climate change and they don't even understand that the main continent that they say is melting is not really melting at the rate, and they can't measure most of it. And then they're taking signs away saying, oh, they've been saying this since the 60s and 70s and 80s. This is not Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's just the new wave of BS, guys. And we're going to find out when it's all said and done that the 90-something% of scientists, and it's already, the founder of the Weather Channel said this on CNN, and they were completely floored and had nothing to say to it. Maybe I'll include a clip, maybe I won't. Look it up for yourself. It's government-paid scientists. It's like, do you want the money? Get this consensus, or go to this part and measure that it's melting. Go to this part of the glacier. but they can't measure more than half, it looks like, to that map of the glacier. So please, if you're an environmentalist, you have to be open-minded, just like the right wing has to be open-minded and understand that some people are being funded by fossil fuel, and some people are being funded by the oil industry, and some people are being funded by the Koch brothers. Now it's the left wing being funded by the Koch brothers, and anti-censorship, or I'm sorry, anti-free speech and pro-censorship being funded by the Koch brothers. Yes, the right wing has to be open to all that, but you also have to be open to the fact that you're being funded by billionaires and elites on your environmental side. They're taking advantage of your activism and your love and your kindness for this planet, like I have, and they're using you to create a global one world order, possibly, of high taxes, global carbon tax. So now they have a financial enslavement over the entire world, and they can manipulate you. Oh, you believe in this? Oh, you believe in this? Go march and do our bidding so we can do all our stuff. A lot of this science is far from settled and worth discussion at least. So that's what I used to not like about the right wing, was there's so much stubbornness on the right wing, and stubbornness is disgusting. I'm like, you're too stuck in your ways, right wing. That's what I thought when I was growing up more left-leaning. But now I look at liberals and I'm like, they're just as stubborn, if not more stubborn, than the right wing now. It's like, no, I'm right. I'm like, you're not even reading the main sources. They tell you the headline and you're like, oh my God, it's melting. And then they're like, yeah, but we can't really measure it. It's like, are you a truth seeker? Are you a lover? Are you really trying to fight extremism? Or are you just another useless idiot now on the left instead of the right? Those are my questions, and just please consider that, because whether you're left wing or right wing, you don't want to be a lemming just walking off a cliff, and there's lemmings on both sides. So God bless you, God bless your family, God bless America, and God bless the world. I hope you like this reporting. If you did, sign up to my free email list in the comment section. It's 100% free. I don't send out emails maybe once a month or so, once every 4 months, excuse me. So I'm the opposite of a spammer. I'll do it when I have something important. And I also want to say thank you to everybody supporting on Patreon, which I'm looking to get off of. If you're on there, please support. I appreciate it. Please stay on there. But I'm looking to build my own or get on a new Patreon eventually once they build a better one. I'm trying to be the creator of the new one. This way I own it. I don't have to worry about other people doing dumb stuff, and I know I'll be honest about my terms and conditions. But for now, it's fine. But since they're teaming up with the world's worst people, I'm going to look to exit that. Thank you to everybody supporting on PayPal and DonorBox and everything. If not, don't worry about it. I'm just saying I really appreciate it. I'm doing very well for somebody. I work extremely hard as well. It's just a shame. I'm not trying to be selfish or ungrateful, because I'm extremely grateful for my situation now. I'm better off than I've ever been. But it is a little disappointing to know I work 10 times as hard as some of these mainstream media people. The guy who wrote the YouTube Radicals hit piece, he was bragging that it took him 3 months. I did more yesterday. I did laundry. I did a whole video. I edited a whole video myself. I put it out. I did another video. I uploaded another video. I cooked dinner. It's like I wrote an article for a media corporation. It's like I do more in a day than they do in 3 months, yet they make 10 times as much money, and then they take away all my money. I don't need all the money in the world, but I would like to be financially stable when I get older, and especially if I could make, I'm not saying I'm making this now, I'm obviously not even close, but like if the work I'm putting out now, if I was a gamer or I was a mainstream media talk show host with the same type of engagement, if I would get $10 million in advertising revenue, and now you're taking away, hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars from me, it's just a little bit frustrating knowing that I would be crushing it if I was a liar or a thief or somebody who, lobbied for the world's worst stuff, and I had no sense of love or compassion. But because I choose to take the more righteous route, in my perspective, they suck all the money away from me, and I'm still doing excellent. Don't get me wrong, but thank you to people supporting. It means a lot, and I'm looking for other ways to monetize and make sure that they can't take this stuff away from me, because they're definitely going to try. So thank you guys for your support. Your shares and your likes and your comments mean the world. God bless you. I'll be back soon.